Hello. I promised to talk about the new bottle, my thoughts about it. The truth is I have far too many to fit into one video, but here's the bottle. It's orange deep magenta. It's called Ceres. She's the Roman goddess of the harvest. Bottle 119. One of the strong thoughts I've had about this since it was created, and that was almost a month ago now. It's just become available in the last few days. But I've been thinking about the connection between orange deep magenta and blue deep magenta. This is the physical rescue. Bottle number 1. Now, Ceres is the goddess of the harvest, is the goddess of agriculture, and in my mind, that also makes me think of harvest, the fruits of the earth, what's given to us to support our physical existence. And when I think about, in a way for me to come to understand that, I like to compare it. I've found that there's an interesting connection with bottle number 1. Number 1 is the beginning of things. It's the seed. It's the original intention. In the tarot, that would be the magician. The magician is the first card. And the magician is one who sets a process in motion. In Aura-Soma, it was with bottle 1 that equilibrium, then called balance, came into being. It was the first manifestation of this wave of energy, which has continued with many, many further color combinations to the point where we've reached 119. But 119, orange deep magenta, somehow is like the end. It's coming to the other end of that journey, because when you look at the color rows here, you'll see that blue and orange are complementary colors. So we started blue deep magenta and we came all the way to orange deep magenta. So in a sense, we've come like to the very end, a natural completion of that process. And that's why it's so interesting to think about the new bottle Ceres in relation to the seed, the intention of the beginning, because the harvest, the fruit that's given is going to, I step back, get a bit of light. The fruit that's given is a consequence of the seed that was sown in the first place. So that's in a way how I kind of understand Ceres. I think it's more than just a physical crop. I mean, then it's just, you're talking about something in the earth. We're talking about the abundance of Mother Earth. But we're not really, I think we can extend it into our own human experience and our soul's journey in life. We also started off with as an intention. And we are here and now in our life, in a circumstance, which is a consequence of our actions, of what's happened to us through time. And our life is a reflection and also a consequence of our consciousness in that journey. And so we now have a life that reflects the interaction between our consciousness and what's happened to us. And of course, an important thing in this is that we are not perfect. It's very funny. I was just talking and I was about to say we are not perfect, and then this piece of paper that's stuck up is just half fallen down. So it's very kind of imperfect expression there. Because I don't imagine that you consider you have a perfect life, that you're necessarily living the perfection that you were originally intended for. There are various reasons for that. And some of them they're to do with our emotional circumstance, all the way down there. Our emotional circumstance, our what's happened to us in life, physical, nutrition, illnesses, accidents, they affect our physical level, but there's also our emotional, mental level as well. Painful breakups, action, things that happen to us, that's happened to us is a kind of orange victim statement as well, by the way. You can just notice that. All that's happened to us and how we've responded to it. And then that leads into like patterns and habits, patterns of thought, habits of thought, emotional, kind of residual emotional states and beliefs around that. And so we find ourselves living in a kind of I wouldn't say a prison exactly, but we live in a pattern of habits. It's not the same as our true essence. In a way, the pattern of habits is the harvest from that original point of intention of the blue deep magenta in relation to our life. It's in relation to Aura-Soma equilibrium, but that same idea, the magician, the starting point, has everything that's come out of spirit has been on a journey which started with an intention, and that intention is represented by the one. In Aura-Soma equilibrium, that's shown as a blue deep magenta, which is the blueprint, the original blueprint. And that blueprint then aligns us with, in a sense, we want to come back to that. It's difficult to come back to it, to be honest. I mean, it's difficult to come back to it in all the steps you've taken in between. But what we can do is seek to bring a spiritual consciousness into what has happened and into the harvest of where we are now. So in a way, there's like a blessing of this moment. That is the possibility. I do think this bottle will help us to see the circumstance, the habit, the patterns that we've created around us. That's one of my first thoughts about it. The other idea I had the other day, which is really interesting, was about order and chaos. Blue is some kind of order, law and order, the forces of blue, authority. And orange is that which is kind of underneath authority. So whether you see that as blue as the government and orange are the people, or whether you see that as blue as parents and orange are children, or whether you see that as blue are the managers and orange are the workers, whatever you might think workers are red, but in a sense, orange is the community of workers. In any case, however you choose to see it, blue, orange, blue is somehow above and more authoritative and orange is underneath. And to the extent that order is strong, then it kind of suppresses what's potentially underneath in the orange. When the day the bottle came out, we saw a very kind of serious eruption of kind of the people in relation to government, because what happened in America was that day when the Congress and the houses in American politics were meeting to ratify the election results, and the demonstrations of the people kind of erupted into the House of Government. So that was a very obvious example of like the power of orange, where normally you have the control of blue. Suddenly the orange was overrunning the place. I also talked here how on the streets, it was full of people in the streets, not normally seen in Thetford, but like an activity at ground level, I'd love to show you a picture of a tarot card for the Seven of Pentacles, which is a man contemplating a bush. This is the Rider-Waite image. And I see that is about pruning. The Aura-Soma bottle name, I'm going to have to try and find it for you. The Aura-Soma bottle name for that, I'll show you the bottle first, because it's also keyed into our you see here, it's a blue-orange. Bottle 72 is blue-orange. The blue over the orange. We've got the orange rescue, but we Aura-Soma started with the blue rescue, and now we've got the orange rescue. So how do we understand this? This is called Pagliacci. It's the name of a clown in an opera. And the story of Pagliacci is that he gets, basically he gets overtaken by negative emotion. He becomes jealous and he kills the woman he loves, and maybe the man he thinks is having an affair with the woman he loves. Basically, he lets his emotions run riot. And the Rider-Waite tarot card that goes with that is, I'll just try and find it here for you, if I'm lucky. This is the Rider-Waite tarot card for that bottle. By chance, happens to be a blue-orange dress, but he's pruning a bush and he's looking at what he's pruning. And I think this is in the sphere of nets, like in the tree of life, which is to do with feelings. And you want to keep your feelings in control to a certain extent. At least that's what the blue-orange wants you to do. The blue over orange bottle wants you to keep your feelings in control. It's to how to find that dynamic and we've got orange deep magenta now, which in a way is the kind of the rescue of that which is normally controlled. See, what I think is that we're living in a time now where the voice of government is incredibly strong, isn't it? Because you are sitting in your house maybe not sure if you can go out, not sure if you can meet your friends, not sure if you're going to have a job next month, next week, next year. The voice of power of blue has become incredibly strong, and that's forced us into a kind of some level of isolation. We've got social separation. You're not allowed to touch each other. You're not allowed to, you've got masks on. You can't communicate very easily. We're kind of been thrown into our own little space with our own patterns and habits. And you see, I think that the world's circumstances is kind of pushing us to become more conscious of ourselves, of how we're not in that society where we can project and displace and distract. We're more with ourselves more of the time. We're locked in our own homes, and we're going to become more aware of our own patterns and habits. And that's because of a strong blue from above, which is telling us what we're allowed and not allowed to do. And in a way, again, go back to the example of what happened in America. That was an eruption from those who were not happy being told, who are not happy with the blue, let's say. So I think it's a very timely bottle for the time that we're in. And there's one other really fascinating thing. I know it's quite a long video now, but there we go. The bottle was born on a solar eclipse. The solar eclipse was in the sign of Sagittarius, because this month the sun has been in Sagittarius. I think it's moved on now, of course, to Capricorn, but 14th of December, the sun was in Sagittarius. Sagittarius in the tree of life is, and I'm going to show you the tree of life over here, very brief. Well, I'm not, because the picture fell down, so I can't show you that. The tree of life, the path of Sagittarius, the tree of life is a symbol. There are various paths which have connections to planets and astrological signs. The path of Sagittarius is a path of what's called temperance in tarot, and it's a connection between the higher self, the soul consciousness in Tiferet, and the human consciousness in Yesod. So it's linking soul and human consciousness. And there was a solar eclipse on that path when the bottle was born. That, to me, is like a reset. That's like, when you have a problem with your computer and you think, well, what can I do? I'll turn it off and I'll turn it on again, and I hope it starts working when I turn it on. That's a kind of on-off reset, off-on reset. And we had a solar eclipse on Sagittarius, the connection between our soul and our human experience, our human consciousness. And all those patterns and habits are around our human experience. And what happened with that solar eclipse on the day that the bottle was born is it's bringing a new connection. And this is the Aura-Soma tarot image for temperance. And you see an angel here, and sun and moon, that's Tiferet, that's Yesod. It's the connection from higher self to lower self. And she's in the higher self energy, she's an angel. But over the river, you see here a centaur, half man, half horse. He's more in the animal world. He's like part animal. And this is, in a way, this is inviting spiritual consciousness into our animal existence, into our human, earthly, physical existence. And so we find ourselves locked in our home with a bottle that kind of brings more, in a situation that brings more awareness to our habits and our patterns and our beliefs and so on. And we had an eclipse, which is bringing a new level of spiritual consciousness into our our human self, our human consciousness, to become aware and to hopefully relate better, to dissolve in a way some of those patterns and habits. We need to bring a new consciousness in relation to that so we can become more free. We can become more present. So that's what I think the new bottle is about. Really quick run through. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it. You can let me know if you enjoyed it. You can put some comments in. It's always helpful if you like and subscribe, because then I'm inspired to do more. My best wishes, and thank you all very much. And